Here with Mo Cheeks, and I guess where I'd like to start as a basketball fan is reflecting on the fact that it was 30 years ago that you won the championship. Tell me about that team and what that means to you. You know, crazy, right? Why was that team successful?
Well, we had a lot of good players. We started out with Doc, Moses, Andrew, Bobby Jones. We had a lot of good players, and that team was successful because we had players at every position. I think now you have a transition of players from a 1, 2, 3. They can play all positions. Our team was, every position was filled, and was pretty much filled with good players.
I don't think you're ever going to see a team or many teams that are going to be as good as that one was, but your job here is to try to get a team to that level of winning a championship, and it is a different league 30 years later. But when you approach head coaching now, what are your priorities? What are the main challenges of getting to a young player and making him a winner?
Well, I think you have to understand what they do. And I have to understand what they do. The players have to understand what they do. And that's why I mentioned our team. If you're point guard, you're point guard. If you're two guard, scores the ball. Three guard, they rebound, they defend. And I think that's the difference in yesterday's league and today's league is there were more position players. Now you got players that can play 1, 2, 3. They can play multiple positions. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. So we got to get our guys to understand what they do, the way they do it, and try and do it at a high level.
Yeah, you've been in this league for so long, you know the impression and you know the reputation of Detroit. What does Detroit Pistons basketball mean to a guy who's been around the league for 30, 35 years?
Well, I always mention the tradition of this franchise, and the tradition of this franchise is they always play committed basketball. I mean, it's a good town, it's a good basketball town. If you playing correctly, you're playing hard, they like hard playing basketball, and I think that's where we have to get to, where night in and night out, our guys are going out there putting an honest effort, 100% effort out on the floor, and that's what people hear. I think that's what people in Detroit think about when they watch Detroit basketball. That's what we're going to get started and get ready to do.
It's always a different mix of players and a coach, but what have you learned in your previous 2 stops that maybe you know you don't want to have happen again as a head coach?
Well, everything is always, I mentioned earlier, everything is a learning experience, and everything's a little different. Portland be a little different, Philadelphia be a little different. So you got to put the things that I want to do, whether it was in Portland or Philly, but still being committed to who I am and trying to do the thing for my team to make us win games.
Joe Dumars has been here a long time. He's made a lot of coaching changes. When you see that from the outside and all of a sudden now you're sitting across the table from him, what's different about you versus the other coaches that he's hired, and why do you think?
I don't know what's different about me. I don't know. And I said that earlier. I don't know what's different about me from the other coaches. I can only be who I am, and I'm not going to try and deviate from who I am. The things I like committed basketball, I like defensive basketball, and I think those are recipes for winning games. So I don't know about the other coaches. I can only speak for myself.
What jumps out at you about this team? Your first impression of who you're going to work with?
Well, I'm going to work with all of them, but I got good bigs, good young bigs. I got good young guards. We got to get those guards to play defensive-minded basketball, open-minded, offensively basketball, and realizing that you got big guys down low that can score a ball. And when you have big guys down low that can score a ball, it opens up everything on the perimeter. And that's what jumps out at me when I look at this team.